Fucking
Well, I
crazy.
think we should start with the elephant in the room, which for me was definitely a unknown to be released series. Build King.
Oh, Bill King. I thought it was Bill King's, but yeah, it's Bill King.
I did as well, but I'm looking at it right now and no, it's Build King.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you. I shouldn't say I don't know about you. I mean, you and I have gone back and forth quite a bit. We're both, I think, pretty big fans of Toriko.
Oh, I'm a huge
if
fan. I
had
love
to-
it. It's one of my favorites. I just love the over the topness.
That's what I was gonna say. To be honest, is like if I had to go right now and give you a top 5 in no particular order of my personal favorite manga series, it would definitely be Toriko, Shaman King, Jujutsu, Air Gear, and
You would like Air Gear.
probably like My Hero or something like that.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I love Air Gear. Don't even get me started
you would
about Air
like
Gear.
Air Gear.
Anyways, so yeah, to see Build King, which is, not obviously a true sequel, but it's very much a spiritual successor. I mean, that's pretty obvious from, you see the 2-page color cover spread. What is the new MC's name? Tonkachi?
Tonkachi, yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
He looks like Komatsu
Yeah.
from Toriko. There's no question about
Yeah,
that.
and his brother Renga.
Renga? Yeah,
He
Renga.
reminds me of a skinnier Coco.
Yeah, right? With maybe just a hint of Toriko in there, because I feel like I see the silvery hair.
Yeah, I can.
And the nose or something like that.
With
so
the eyes,
I
yeah.
go a little bit more to that. So yeah, this was. I guess you and I don't do a whole lot of background research in terms of what's coming out this week or things like that. Is something on a break due to these reasons. So to kind of have this dropped randomly on a Sunday was huge. I didn't know what it was, but when I saw the art and who it was by, I was interested, instantly interested. I was like, this is going to be so cool. I can already feel it because he's just over the top at all points.
Oh yeah, and
Would you agree?
Oh, of course. I mean, his previous work from Toriko is just imagine if Dragon Ball Z had number scaling. You know what I mean? So, yeah. As soon as I saw this, I was like, a new series. And the funny thing is, like I said before, and I mentioned it when off screen, he had a one shot called Bill Kings, and I was actually skimming through it. I was trying to find it on the Shonen Jump app, but I couldn't, so I had to go to another site, and I found it. I was just skimming through it, and the difference was there's one character, or I guess one main character, and then he has a talking house essentially, or a sentient house.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from that one shot, compared to this one, and I prefer the differences that I prefer this one, the new version that he made. There's 2 protagonists. Clearly, one's the brains, and the other one's the bronze. It would seem.
Mm-hmm.
Where from the other one is it was just one protagonist, and it was kind of it reminded me of I don't know if you ever seen the movie Mortal Shells, or the trailer for that, or London.
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, it's basically Countries on Wheels.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or there was some similarities to that. So, but Bill King's, I mean, right off the bat, I just enjoyed the crazy over the topness. I mean, I'm excited where it's gonna go. I'm really excited where it's gonna go.
Well, I guess for anybody who may not have read Toriko. Just to kind of give you, I guess, a little bit of insight into what you could be expecting from Build King is, so Toriko is kind of like Shokugeki no Soma, but
Fruit Wars.
Throw in a whole crap ton more action, actual action, not intense cooking scenes, and then throw in Hunter x Hunter on top of it for crazy creatures, crazy lore. People are super powerful for obscene reasons and stuff like that. A large
amount of reasons, yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, a very, very poor idea of kind of giving you, or at least a picture of what Toriko is like. And this is already right from the get-go, just right in that vein. Even from, the opening kind of
Hammer
pages.
Island. Yeah.
Yeah, Hammer Island, right outside the area where humans dwell, which, to be honest, is very reminiscent of how Toriko starts, because you're in the gourmet world, right, as it's referred to.
Yeah.
Or the and
the
stuff
human
like that.
Yeah.
And then right out the bat, you see these crazy creatures. There's some sort of lizard, saber-tooth tiger thing
unicorn
with some sort of pterodactyl raptor on grasshopper legs in the background there. Like, I don't even know what that is.
While volcanoes going off. One thing I do want to mention, he has one of the most, like, I don't know what's his mindset when he makes something. It's just kind of like he puts two things. He's very good at putting two things together, and like this is a thing now. Like
it's two seemingly unrelated,
or just
these animals have no business being together, but it works.
But not even that. It's even his like words, like in his like any setting from Toriko and even Bill King. Like I'll give an example. Like I wrote it down here in my notes. Like even the food. Oh, here have some like screw tea or like chocolate nails, and it's
I caught that too, yeah, and that's where I was getting the Toriko vibes from as well. I'm like, oh, that sounds like something that would be in freaking Toriko for sure.
So like when he has like a word, it's like over the top. Like a carpenter in this world is like probably the most important thing in the world, and like the power set, I can't imagine what's gonna be. Like
I can't either.
Yeah.
Toriko's was so weird. Like, well, okay, the one thing so I guess going into a little bit more on Toriko and what I can see kind of transferring over here as well is a big part of that story was the relationship between the chef and the gourmet hunter themselves. Yep. So that was like a huge part of the series, right, is finding a chef, building a relationship with them, and together you go to create like
the best
your
menu
super course, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And then in this one, clearly Renga and Tonkachi have like something very similar, right, where Renga's the architect, right, or the builder, the carpenter. Sorry, that's the actual title, not bad.
But they're both carpenters, but one's better than the other.
I was gonna say, can we even call Tonkachi that? Because I mean, that house, dude. That's there's a Three Little Piggies reference, basically, right? The wolf walks up and just blows the house down without a care in the world. So that was kind of funny. But sorry, backpedaling a little bit. There's clearly, I guess, going to be that kind of relationship maybe again, where the carpenter has somebody that they absolutely need, right? Like, how does the carpenter get those materials? Is there another role maybe that we don't know about?
Backing off that, I guarantee you, there's like probably multiple roles. Like, just I can't even think of like building a house. You know what I mean? Like, okay,
you need like a mason, a carpenter,
a welder. You're gonna have you're gonna have welders and stuff like that. You're gonna have like a planner. I guarantee you, a planner is probably like a big thing too. So
because Coco, I think it isn't exactly like a gourmet hunter, right? He's kind of like an offshoot or something, and then
he's
Toriko.
I believe he's a hunter.
I must be thinking. I am thinking of the wrong character then. Who's the guy with the giant nose who looks like a tengu in Toriko?
Oh no, he's a chef.
Oh, was he a chef? Okay, then I'm just mixing it up a little bit. My bad.
But there were like offshoots of like other stuff. I know exactly what you mean. Where like it's all the same world and all the same vein, but they have like different jobs and like, oh, I'm this and I'm this type of hunter, or I am this type of like chef and all that stuff like that. So
exactly. So I'm thinking there's probably going to be some, similar, I guess, specializations, if you want to call it, this kind of thing.
I mean, you could just see right off the back Rengen's house. Like, it's a giant, like, either steel or gold helmet. You can't tell with black and white. But, like, yeah, it's insane. And then once he gets in the house, it's, like, doesn't even budge when the ogres kind of, like, come in. But, I'm really excited. I mean, overall, I'm just really excited for this whole series because after like reading it, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be like over the top. I mean, my I think our favorite pages. I'm speaking for you, but I don't know if it is when we see their master. His name is Chauvel, which is kind of like ridiculous in itself.
I thought it was just shovel. Do you think it's actually
like Chauvel or some type of accent? Or just straight up shovel.
I thought it was straight up shovel, to be honest. I read it as shovel. It could be. That would probably make more sense. If
Honestly,
like
I wouldn't be surprised if it's just that because again, his naming convention is very simple, and it's over the top where like he puts two words together and like this is a thing now. Like, master carpenter, that's like sure. And like I'm pretty sure he's probably like their master's like probably the top 10 strongest carpenters in the world.
Well, like slight spoiler alert here for I guess, or not quite spoiler territory, but a little bit. It reminded me kind of the relationship that I'm kind of seeing here. Kind of reminded me a little bit of what the heck is the guy's name in Toriko, like Adam or whatever.
No. Like his name was like Acidine or something. I can't remember his name, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like the original gourmet hunter or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Who like kind of started everything. That's the vibe I kind of get from. We'll go with Shovel for now, I guess. And then I remember he kind of took on a couple of apprentices as well. So it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of story. There's a lot of like literary techniques and literary ideas that are kind of being carried over here from the original work. And to be honest, I don't personally see a problem with that.
No.
Because sometimes you force a sequel and it kind of doesn't work, and people end up more disappointed. But what if you take the same things that people love about the series and just kind of transfer them elsewhere with, again, a similar backdrop, because instead of crazy foods and crazy dishes, houses here we've got super crazy houses. Like, in the thumbnail that we'll have, there's a turtle walking with a crazy city on its back.
And that's what I want to talk about. I think this is my favorite page of like the whole chapter, where like you see like giant mountain range condos. Who thinks of stuff like that? He put words together, and I'm like, what? Like condos by mountains, and they're massive that they're touching the cloud. It's like crazy.
And my thing is who would even want to live there though? That's kind of.
I mean, I probably would. I mean, look at that like Destiny 2 upside down pyramid thing. I guess I assume that's the underworld prison. Like.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very like out there, and I'm really excited to see the world, like how big is. Obviously, the world is massive, and it's gonna be like so imaginative, because it's just. It seems like a kid's, imagination kind of like drawn good. Obviously.
Oh, Running Wild? Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. The funny thing is that you kind of mentioned kids. I feel so far this story is already a little bit more, maybe oriented at a younger kid audience.
I believe so.
Because Toriko, I wouldn't call it mature, but the violence and kind of, I guess, the killing, especially of the animals and stuff like that, it's a little darker, right? That's not exactly
but like
reader children-esque to an extent.
But I'll have to disagree. I think it was still towards kids. I mean, the anime is they cater it very much towards kids, because but I know what you mean. In the manga, it was like a lot more I guess blood when they like defeat each. I mean, Toriko's arm got cut off and everything. But when it comes to Japanese storytelling, it's different from like here in the Americans, where like you won't watch Ben 10 and his hand will get cut off, but that's probably normal for a 10-year-old to read that. Kids read Naruto, and Naruto has its like moments of I mean, even early on.
Now and again it does for sure.
I mean, even earlier on with the like Zabuza arc. So, but I do agree. Yes, this is just off the back with like the ogres. It very feels, I don't know, Dragon Ball-esque. You know what I mean?
Silly kid goes up. Well, dude, speaking of just Dragon Ball-esque, we'll kind of, I guess, jump around here. Is that hammer?
Yeah.
The first thing I thought of was Goku's power pole.
I guarantee you that.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And just the way he was like hitting it against the rocks to like traverse across the island.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool, dude. Like, honestly, that was wild to me.
And it's funny that like we only meet these characters for I want to see it for a few pages, and like, oh wow, he could do that, eh? Like he could just swing it, like like just from the jump. I'm like, okay, this kid is like above average. I mean, living on an island called Hammer Island, that's just, you kind of have to take your like disbelief a little bit up there,
I agree. Well, I mean, look at the residents of the island too, though.
They're all monsters. They're all like creatures.
He's taken on like 3 kappas
which was hilarious.
Students, right?
Yeah.
And they're like chilling, right? All I could think of was like Koopa Troopa Bros or something. You got the Huey, Dewey, and Louie of the Koopas over here, just like chilling. And the one guy's like, "Oh, I have 8 girlfriends." The other guy's like, "I have 6 girlfriends." And Donkachi's sitting there like, "What? what is going on here, right? And so, just stuff like that. It's being very humorous right off the bat and kind of, playing with, pop culture references and stuff like that. And I loved it, man. Even the penguins were pretty damn funny.
Oh yeah, they're like little. I think they're called toad penguins, something like that. Or yeah, they were pretty adorable. Like again, his creature designs are just like sometimes unique and just very like simple and enjoyable. I mean, even the king ogre himself. I think it was the house eater. Yeah, the guy has like 2 mouths.
Right. Well, and it's funny because that's where I was gonna go to.
With like 10 pack, like 10, like his or like more abs. I don't know. He's like a 20 pack.
It's like dude. It's even more than that. It's like a bajillion pack. Because I was actually just scrolling through to like the more actiony parts, anyways. Yeah, for sure. And I think, to be honest, kind of those creatures were even more so what kind of nailed home. This is in the vein of Toriko. This is kind of like a spiritual successor of Toriko because the monsters were the most aggressive things on screen in Toriko at all times, and they were jacked up like this. They were made to look intimidating, kind of make no sense, have like extra appendages and stuff like that, and that's clearly the get-go right here again, right? I was very surprised though when it spoke after he kicked the crap out of it, and it was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then. That was pretty funny to me as well because I wasn't expecting it to actually like be able to communicate with him.
No, same. So kind of makes you. I mean, makes sense too because like the other creatures talk, so why wouldn't that one?
That's true too. Actually, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that either.
Also, I just realized it looks like he's on top of the mountain. I mean, on top of like the Hammer Island. Like that's where they are. So
you think they're on top? Oh, that could make sense. Like at the beginning, and that. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
or like just the way he's like, literally like hammering himself towards up. So when he was
I feel like Hammer Island is go back to the first page where you actually see it. I feel that actually must have been a hammer for some giant thing that lived on this planet at some point and broke off.
Okay.
Like, just look at it. It's like it snapped or something right at the end there. Like
what's funny? Okay, so I know we're jumping around a lot. Because I had a whole theory of like, well, I can already see how like this is gonna be pretty massive in its like scale already. I mean, there's a volcano on top of like the island. How much you want to bet the Earth itself is like? It's a house. The Earth is the planet.
It's a house, like in a house. Yeah.
No, or like some like there was like a type of like super ultra being where like he built planets. Which are
I could see that 110%,
because like the theme is like the theme of the manga is like people build home, like how Toriko was about food and like food brings people together. Now this one's like homes, keep serenity and safe and this and that.
Safe, yeah.
And like which is like, let's say the ultra god being, it was like he created planets so people could be safe on the planet. It's just something like that over the top. So
even just like safe from the darkness of space kind of thing.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like simple as that, right?
Yeah. So it's gonna be very I'm like I said, I'm just super hyped to see where it goes. But you're right, it is look like the hilt came off a little bit. So I guarantee you that hammer probably built a piece of that planet or whatever. However this Earth looks, for all we know, this Earth could be square. We have no idea what it looks like. Because I always remember in Toriko, I know we're going back and forth, but it's just so evident. Because I mean, even his art style is just similar. I mean, I know you mentioned before, you feel like it was more cleaner. I personally felt it was basically the same.
Well, I did go back and read a couple of chapters of Toriko, just to, kind of get a feel for it. And after kind of rereading a couple of it, maybe it's just a little bit more refined. I mean, maybe not more refined than. Well, yeah, I would have to say it's maybe a little further refined than what Toriko was at its apex, at its like conclusion, right? Because every artist starts off with. Like look at My Hero, for example.
They
My
evolve.
Hero looks like now is not exactly. You refine your style, you refine the characters. It gets easier. I guess more after kind of reviewing everything a little bit further is it already feels like it was the apex of Toriko from like a quality standpoint, and it's like, you can tell this is a mangaka who's like coming back to the game kind of thing, not somebody who's starting off fresh. There's a very, very high professional quality here that just speaks to someone who has years and years of artistry experience in this particular type of genre and field.
Yeah, because Toriko wasn't his first story too. He made another story beforehand, but it wasn't published here in America. So.
Oh really? Okay. See, there you go. See, yeah. I'm getting filled in on stuff too. There you go.
Yeah.
And that I don't know. Sorry.
And that story was just ridiculous too. It was like about like this. Imagine a man that looks like, I don't know. I don't want to say like a guy that looks like Toriko, but a grown-looking man, but he's 12 years old, and he's like the strongest 12-year-old there is. So his.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. True.
But like.
Okay.
Going back to the Bill Kings, like I'm curious, I'm excited to see where, like, what other houses we're gonna see, what other abilities. There probably will be an evil syndicate of some kind, the House Destroyers,
trying to destroy the Bill Kings so that the world can't live in peace. Of course, there always is.
The art, the art itself looks great. I do like the back and forth with what's his name, Togachi. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Tonkachi.
Tonkachi, like, they're brotherly, like, one's like the sturdy one's probably like the little, again, he's probably smarter, but he also has his own weapon, which I noticed even in the cover page.
Right at the end. Well, that was something
that in the end, and also and you see it in the beginning too in the color page or the
Yeah, and it's like a saw, right?
Yep.
Or like an axe, I guess.
I guess like a saw or something. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because. He calls it. Hold on, when he actually like rips out the hammer before he like just obliterates the house eater. So it's called the Vigor Hammer, and so I guess similar. Again, we're kind of jumping back and forth, but there's just so many like, it's an homage basically to like Toriko, where chefs had certain tools. Gourmet hunters had like certain tools.
And
he's got a construction tool, powered by my vitality, the Vigor Hammer. So, is that like the Vigor Saw or something like that? I don't think it'll actually be called that, but that'll be very interesting to learn. And it's kind of like, when you're starting off in an isolated setting like this, there's so much revolving around it still that you just don't have a grasp for yet. So it's just so cool because you're already asking like so many questions, like, oh, where did this tool come from? Oh, why were both of these kids like abandoned on this island? Oh, why did their master come to this
island in particular?
Why did their master come to this island, kind of thing? There's so many of those unanswered questions. Like, one thing that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing develop over the course of this series is the furthering of the relationship between Tonkachi and Renga, and more on, is there going to be something to like split them apart because they are different, and because we don't know the reasons that both of them ended up on that island, right? Because they're not biological brothers; they're adoptive.
Yeah.
He even says that, right? He's just like, "Oh, I'll be your brother, and I'll take care of you," kind of thing.
Again, just from like, I could already see the main character. He has like a nail birthmark. It looks like.
I did see that, so I'm thinking he comes from probably some sort of crazy builders, right?
Yeah, it's probably significant for sure. And they could probably get typical either shonen or just storytelling. Like maybe they might get split up, maybe they might not. Who knows? This is it's gonna be very action over the top heavy manga where like they're gonna. I mean, I can already see it. Like someone's gonna have like a nail gun, and then it could probably like pierce through the sky or something like that.
Or it's capable of like he can shoot it through the planet, and it'll come out the other side, and like he'll kill somebody or a creature with it or something. I feel you.
And we're gonna see like other jobs, like we're gonna see like companies that probably like hire carpenters to like build cities. And stuff
could definitely see. Well, I think that's definitely part of the case, right? Because that's what Shovel's talking about, right? He's getting hired to go, I guess, maybe
make a Bill King.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I guess kind of confuses me because they're called they're build kings, right? Like it's plural. But we don't know what built any of these structures. So,
no.
Do current day carpenters add on to the build kings? Like, are they the only ones worthy of making edits and things of that nature? Like, what's the dynamic there between that relationship, right? Because Shovel says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go work on this You guys wouldn't have a chance of even getting there.
Yeah.
You know,
So it makes
someone
it
to you.
it makes you think the harsh environments they're about to like traverse just by like that, or like there's
Well,
a
it's kind of funny, right? Because they're already living like on their own on an island, some pretty harsh environments.
yeah.
And again, sorry, more Toriko connections, but I'm reminded of when the first time Toriko came back from like experiencing cold. He was asked by like the president of the Gorman Society if like, oh, you know, could you see your breath? And he was like, yeah, like, why? And he's like, oh, okay, like, you're nowhere close to being as strong as you need to be. And already that kind of setup is being here where, you know, Shovel's like, yeah, you know, you guys don't stand a chance. You're at least 2 or 3 years out from being able to come even see what a Build King is. So I like how they're kind of setting the stage already.
Oh, yeah, just for, like, the power scaling. I mean, their island itself, like, their master's like, oh, you guys aren't even ready. And their island that they're living on is just pretty tough in itself. Like, you have crazy creatures, a volcano that seems to be always going off. So, yeah.
What more is there out there?
I mean, obviously a lot more, and I'm excited. I mean, I'm probably repeating myself throughout this whole review. Yeah, what is there to see? But I mean, just to run it down, like like what is more to see? Where the characters are gonna go? Are they gonna be master carpenters? I mean, that's probably the goal, right? They probably each have a dream where like they want to build peace or something like that, or they want to build.
Well, that's definitely Tonkachi's like kind of dream, right? Is he wants to be able to build peace for people. So I think that's kind of interesting.
But yeah, it is very kid oriented, which is I think it's fine, and it's still enjoyable regardless of like who the audience is for. And I think you need that right now when it comes to like shonen manga, where there's like a lot of gag mangas and not very action heavy, with a mix of like comedy, but there's not really a lot of action heavy in pseudo manga compared to like the typical like One Piece, My Hero, and other stuff. So it's nice to see something different, and I hope the series actually like continues because
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was gonna say too. Is people got to stick with this one. I think I don't want to see another rehash of Samurai 8 or Hachimaru, whatever you want to call it. Naruto's author's second work. I don't want to see a rehash of like one of these industry greats coming back and not getting enough time to build up the world, and then the series getting canned. I wanna see some love and support for a guy that has already established himself, and he's coming back with the spiritual sequel. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think now is probably the perfect time. People are at home more than ever. They want something familiar. They want something kind of comforting. And this is almost like, when you go back to watch a movie or something, but it's kind of changed a little bit. And you're like, I didn't remember these types of things almost. It's almost of that nature where you get to like reminisce, and there's some nostalgia and some comfort in going back to it. So, I hope people jump on. I hope people enjoy it. And, we'll hopefully get to see if the universe here is as crazy as was in Toriko, which actually, sorry, my final note that I didn't get to bring up while we were going around is, to be honest, man, I could frankly see this as being another planet in like Toriko's universe.
That's what I wanted to ask you before. Yeah, you actually just brought it up. Do you think this takes place on another planet in Toriko's universe, or is it like another dimension? Because it's funny, because like Regna, when he said like, "Hey, can you cook me something?" And then Regna was like, "Why can't you just cook for yourself?" And he's like, "Oh man, that's like another dimension to me." I'm like,
dimension.
Yeah, I was like, was that like our little reference? Like, I mean, I would believe it too. I'm like, all right, fine. This thing is about houses, and that universe is about food.
It's very possible. Well,
and
spoiler
like,
alert,
and
I'll
also,
give you like 3 seconds, and I'll give people like 3 or 5 seconds to click this part out.
Yeah, the way Toriko ended. And like,
exactly.
Yeah,
it's very open-ended, and there's arguably no reason these could not be in the same universe based off of how Toriko ended. So, maybe it is. Maybe we'll get maybe it'll be more like a fairy tale following Rave Master kind of thing, where they're not in the same universes, but we'll keep getting like, character homages and like things of that nature. Yeah. Maybe that's what we'll kind of go
and
down
like
to.
Again, spoilers. Either skip it. I guess about a minute or so. Toriko, 3, 2, 1. Toriko and them goes to space to find more food. Who's to say, he goes in a wormhole and ends up here? Yeah.
There you go, right? right? Ends up in a wormhole in the spacecraft. There you go.
Yeah. I would definitely like to see that. Or just like a fun little bonus chapter that they both meet each other until the characters are more established.
That'd be a great crossover. Yeah, just randomly bringing together like that. I would love that. That'd be fantastic. Let's start a petition. I'm just joking, but it'd be great to see it.
But yeah, but I think that's about it when we talk about Bill King. It's such a weird title because I want to say Bill Kings.
It should be plural. I feel it should be plural.
Yeah, Bill King is very like,
it's almost too cut and dry. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but if you want to move on to the next one.